Welcome to a special edition of Daily Delivery. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Michael Rand here. Chip Scoggins with me. You might be reading right now or about to read or have already read Chip's excellent piece on the barn. No, we're not talking about Williams Arena. We're talking about the barn. Tell me, I mean, this gymnastics barn. When you were telling me the story like months ago about what this was and how you were reporting on it, I couldn't believe it. So let's just start at the beginning and give me the lowdown on this amazing place and this amazing story.
Yeah, so Hendricks, Minnesota is a small town in southwest Minnesota over on the South Dakota border. Town of a little over 600 people, farming community. There is a farmer there, fourth generation farmer named Gary Johnson, and his wife Sherry. And they have three daughters who were involved in sports. And Gary he had a lifelong dream to be a cowboy. He wanted to learn how to ride horses. They have corn and beans down there in the farm.
Okay.
So he was going to build himself a barn, a shed barn, where he would store his equipment on half the side, and the other half would be just sand, where he would, learn how to ride horses and have a place to, be inside. Well, they have three daughters who are very active in sports, and they were driving. And Sherry was a multi-sport athlete growing up in South Dakota, and she was taking the girls over to Brookings, which is about a 40-minute drive from their home, to do gymnastics. They belong to a gymnastics club over there, and they're training. And so Gary, when he was building this barn, the wife said, Sherry said, "Could you carve out maybe just a little spot in there where I could put some of my old gymnastics, bars and beams where we could practice and we wouldn't have to, drive so far and just have a kind of a place where the girls could practice." And Gary thought to himself, he said, "I'm going to do it even better." He surprised his wife and made the whole thing concrete so that they could have a gymnastics center in there. And then he looked everywhere for an actual gymnastics floor, which I didn't know they were that hard to find, but he said he looked all over the country and he finally found one at Madison Square Garden that was being used at a event in Madison Square Garden. They had delivered surprise Sherry for Christmas, and all of a sudden they had this real life barn, a whole gymnastics center. They had all the equipment at the barn. Well, almost simultaneously, this was 2012.
Okay.
In 2011, the town of Hendricks, they had a co-op with Ivanhoe, which was a town about 14 miles away, where the kids from both towns would go to elementary school in Hendricks. The middle and high school would go in Ivanhoe.
Okay.
And that's just how they had a co-op. Well, there was Ivanhoe wanted to consolidate, which all the kids would be in one building. And there was a fear that, because I think Ivanhoe had a newer building, that Hendricks would lose their school. And it was the second largest employer in town. And as Sherry Johnson said, and others said at the time, if you don't have a school in a small town, what small town survives without that? And so they rushed and they started their own school that year in 2011, where a lot of kids stayed in Ivanhoe because, they had friends and activities and all the different things. So they started up the school. Not many kids were there. Sherry's oldest daughter and Gary's oldest daughter, Greta, was one of five in her class. But they started a high school and started athletic programs. They had to rely on like a lot of 7th and 8th graders because they just didn't have many upperclassmen at the time because they all stayed in Ivanhoe. Well, they started a gymnastics program, and for the first 8 years, they did it by themselves. And then, or they co-opted with another town, but after about 8 years, they started co-opting with a town called Esteline in South Dakota.
Okay.
Esteline didn't have a gymnastics program. Well, they turned this barn into a gymnastics center where they hold gymnastics meets. And this team, Esteline Hendricks, has now won back-to-back state titles in South Dakota. And it has become the thing to do in Hendricks when their gymnastics meets are going on. The town comes in, they push in aluminum bleachers for fans to come in there. They sell concessions, they have music, it's a big party. And the top schools in South Dakota all want to come there to compete. I mean, you're talking about the biggest schools. They all try to line up so they can come compete in the barn. Now, this is a farm with a barn on it.
Yeah.
That buses roll in, and all of a sudden you walk inside, and there's this beautiful gymnastics center.
Well, what's it like rolling into this place? Like, what was it like when you got there the first time?
If you, it's on the edge of town. You drive up, and it just looks like a barn on a farm. You pull in, it has a long driveway, and you wouldn't know it on the outside. And then you open the door, and here's all this gymnastic equipment, the uneven bars, the tumbling, it has a 2-story loft where there's a changing area up there, and then they have one down below for the teams. The gymnasts to change. They have, enough room for judges. And Sherry's Sherry's the coach. She's the varsity coach, and they have won back-to-back state titles. Her youngest daughter, just won back-to-back all-around state titles in South Dakota, and the team titles. And the school is flourishing. Enrollment has basically doubled since that first year. They have a lot of kids that do online, and just adding activities. If you don't have activities at your school, people are going to go elsewhere, right? But having successful sports programs has helped really, as one person says, it's brought some vitality to the town. And it's just become this, if you go there and you say the barn, everybody knows what it is. They smile. They go to watch the people don't even have kids will go just to watch the competitions. And so it's just, it's really, it started with a guy who wanted to learn how to ride a horse to act like a cowboy. And it's turned into this just amazing, this amazing venue that has the top program in South Dakota.
How far from the Twin Cities are we talking about? A few hours, or?
Yeah, from my home on the east side of the metro, it takes me 3.5 hours.
Okay.
You go through 2-lane highways and roads and through the fields, and it's right on the border. From the Johnson's property, you can look across and see South Dakota. I mean, they're right
it's
there.
that close. Okay.
Yeah, and so they have Lake Hendricks, and it's really a story of this town really kind of invested in itself. Gary and the former mayor bought the movie theater there on Main Street. Had been closed for 40 years. Wow. And since 1972, they bought it, refurbished it. They have this single screen movie theater now that people go and watch. Different shops on Main Street have opened up. They have a couple restaurants. Just the Main Street is really starting to buzz, and it's attracting visitors because Lake Hendricks is a big draw for people that come for camping and different things in the summer. Have a golf course there, so a lot of things contributed to kind of the vitality of this town. But the barn, as they said, is a piece to that puzzle, and there's so much community pride with it. When they win a state championship or go to state, they have a procession of cars through town, and they're honking the horns, and everybody comes out, and so. Just a really amazing, tight-knit community, and a lot of it revolves around, the gymnastics team and Sherry, what she does as a coach. Parents will bring their daughters and sons too. She does coach some sons, but daughters from all over the area down there, and she teaches them throughout the summer, gives them classes, and it's always open for kids to train and stuff. And they're really good at watching their high school team. They're very talented, and wouldn't be surprised they win another state title this year because there's just some top level gymnastics, and they do it right there in the barn, man. They have
that's cool.
They have the meets right there, and it's a big. Sherry's niece does the music, and they have loud dance music, and it's they give away, instead of giving traditional medals or trophies that kids get, that collect dust on the dresser. They have Gary will make little cattle ear tags. They'll make medals out of that.
There you go.
They get horse figurines or just kind of different things like that. That's memorable, right? That kind of symbolizes the barn. They have sweatshirts and T-shirts that everybody gets. At the end of each meet, they have while the judges are compiling the scores, they have a handstand contest. And who wins that?
Yeah.
They do that. One year they had just had a calf that was born the day before, and whoever won the handstand contest got to name the calf. little
great.
girl named her Jordan. So I mean, it's a fun party atmosphere that they said they want this to be a memorable experience when teams from South Dakota get to come in there, and now all these teams are, hey, we want to come. There was one team last year that went there, had a meet canceled, and he called back. He said, "Can we come again?" Because they wanted to. It was such a cool experience for their gymnasts. So.
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
Now I want to see my oldest daughter. She's 10. She's into gymnastics now. So I mean, she's doing like club and stuff like that. So I was like trying to imagine like how could we find an excuse to go check this place out? Because that sounds pretty amazing. And you're talking about just the whole small town atmosphere that how this contributes to it. I mean, you've read countless things over the years of, small towns going one way or the other. It feels like this is going the right way, or at least they're doing the things to make sure it goes the right way.
Well, and that was the fear, like when there was uncertainty about their school. And in 2012, February, the legislative session, there was a couple of the Minnesota legislators that brought a bill that wanted to dissolve their school district and have the kids go to S-line. And the people in the town found out about it, flooded the people on the education committee their voicemails, and I got an email from the chair, who was at the time no longer, but she said, "Yeah, we decided not to hear it because they felt that schools are important for small towns, and obviously." We're seeing that with Hendricks and what their enrollment and how it's steadily increased to where it's almost double what it was when they started. And that goes back to anything. It's like, if you feel confident in what's going on in your town, your school, your community, if people are investing in it, that's going to be a draw for people to either stay there or come back when they, go off to school or come back. So, the town's really, as they said, Main Street there, it's kind of lively on the weekends, and that's how they want it.
Is he ever going to get to be a cowboy, or is that dream just kind of dead?
I asked him, I said, "How's the riding?" Because, I started going down there in the spring, early spring, and he said, "I'm still a terrible rider. You'll have to put that off on hold." But, talk about just what a gesture by him.
Oh, yeah.
He just surprised his wife and daughters with making this whole thing concrete, and his friends helped him. They poured it. Somehow they kept it from Sherry, the wife. They brought her down there, and the whole thing was in concrete. And he said, "Hey, you have a gymnastics center here for you." And then it was coming up on Christmas, and for him to buy that, and those things are not cheap. My understanding. No. But to find that in Madison Square Garden and get it delivered, and all of a sudden you have this, the floor where they do the floor routines.
Right.
She walked in there. What a great guy. And there, Gary and Sherry, you talk to people in that town, what they do for that community, not just that, but just different things, helping out, pitching in. Gary was on the school board, owns the movie theater, just different things. They have such a huge heart and love for that town, and they're going to do everything to make it thrive.
Awesome. Man, another great one, Chip.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you. Best of luck. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
You too. Thank you, Mikey.